Hey, thanks for tuning back into Rhino's Resto Rod. So today we're going to be back on the 56 Nomad, and we got to make this thing a roller. So what we're going to do is figure out exactly how we want to do that. We'll go wheel by wheel, but we also, the transmission won't come out of gear because I think it's all rusted up, the shifter. And so we'll probably end up pulling the drive shaft, checking out some of the wheels, get them all lubed up, and then we'll start in with the sledgehammer and see where it takes us. So since this hasn't moved since '79, we're almost 40 some years out into pulling these drums off. But today the goal is to make it a roller. So with that being said, one thing I can show you right here in the beginning is that when I first got this, these wheels were on there. They don't look like they're too bad of wheels, but though this wheel here was the only one that would turn. So if you watch this wheel going in and out, you should be able to see how bent it is. So I've taken it off the hub. Like I said, if you watch right there, you can kind of, if I can see, hold it still, you can see it moving in quite a bit. So I'd already taken it off, made sure it was sitting on there flat and everything. So that wheel seems to be junk. So I'm gonna go ahead and get ready to yank all the wheels off, get some lubricant on there, and see where it takes us. All right, let's go ahead and run these wheels off of here and see what we do. Okie doke here. So on the front, obviously these hubs are riveted onto the spindle. So even though we can't turn them, right, I think we'll go ahead and put some penetrant oil just around the top here. See if we can get in behind that drum and get anything happening there. And then again on the rear, pretty nasty, huh? We're headed around here, all the bolt holes, any type of hole that we can get into, and try to get some penetration going before we go and try to yank this thing off of here. All right, here we are under the car. So I think what I said when I was talking earlier, I think we should just go ahead and yank this drive shaft out of here, because I'm not so sure that the transmission is not out of neutral. So I figured it would just be best to eliminate that from the equation and just go ahead and take this drive shaft out. So I'm gonna go ahead, take these bolts out, these straps off for the U-joint, and then that way we can make sure that the rear end is not locked up or anything like that, and that the transmission is in neutral, so it won't matter at this point. So I'll bring you back. Now I guess it's really not gonna take very long. So get this sucker out of the way. And we'll see what we got going on here. think the easiest way to, this doesn't pop out. I just grab a little pry bar. Yeah. That should get us out of there. Well, there's one side. The struggle is real. Get that strap out of there. All right. Looks like we got her out enough to take it out and eliminate that from. So we do have some movement here. That's good. But yeah, probably a good idea. Drive shaft's not moving at all when I push on it. So we'll get this out of here and move on to the next step. So here's one thing that I did learn after I got the drive shaft out. So stuck this up in here, like where the drive shaft would have been, and it does turn, right? So what's that tell me? I got one drum to turn. So what I'll probably try to do is, that obviously is what was keeping me from making this a roller, is transmission was probably in gear or it's locked up. So we'll keep on moving forward. All right, so we got the right rear hub loose. Now I'm gonna work on the left rear. So a couple things that I always do is, I know obviously we're gonna beat on it with a hammer, which I think there's millions of videos out there for that. So I do like to start off with something small, right? I'll go around the drum, go between the studs. But one thing I always do that I didn't actually see other people doing on the videos was going back and putting the lug nuts on, you know, because usually I get angrier and angrier, and then the hammer goes a little wilder and wilder. So I'll start off by tapping around, like I said, smacking between the lugs, smacking around the outside of the drum, and see what happens. And then just one word of warning, if anybody, you know, is trying to break into my garage or anything, we do have security up there. So this is my neighbor, Steve. So Steve's kind of like DD Speed Shop's Danny. No, not really. But anyways, yeah, he's packing heat. So if you think about coming up, you got to mess with Steve. So we're beat on this drum and see what happens. So left rear's off. I know I talked about this one being able to move, but another nice thing about putting the lug nuts back on, so this one is already a loose, but is the, you know, when you're in here and you're spraying and trying to get it in on the pads, if they're really stuck, being able to take your screwdriver or pry bar or whatever you want, being able to pry and move it around, you know, kind of break it loose a little bit more off the pads, and you don't have to worry about messing up your studs. So just something that I always did. And then the one other thing is, if you get behind here and you have a drift and you can start to pound on these and drive it out this way, you don't have to worry about it going over into the next bay and flying off and, you know, doing any damage to anybody or anything when you're beating on it. So again, I never seen it in the other videos. I was kind of surprised, but that's why I always put the lug nuts back on. Yeah, and the one other thing that I do is, so obviously I've already done it on this. I started doing it, and so I had hit it with a brass drift on the back till I drove it out far enough. I get the lug nuts off, but typically there's a little ring in here. I think one of these little crow's foot pry bars are really nice to put in here, and you can start working your way around it, especially, you know, around the studs, and then you can get that drum off. So usually I'm able to do most of that, even if I don't loosen up the adjusters. I know you should have maybe a groove on the inside, but honestly, these brakes drums came off really easy. I figured it was going to be really tough, but again, see how strong I am? Oh, not really. Anyways, but again, the inside of these drums weren't bad, so maybe I just got lucky. Maybe that's why it was so easy to come off. But I could have always screwed in the adjusters, it looks like. But not so bad. I thought they were going to be horrible to get off. And then even on the inside of the drum, put it down here on my little cart. I like having this little cart and pulling my tools around with me, but even the inside of the drums, they don't even have a ridge on them. So I don't know what they've been turned or anything like that, but actually not too bad. So maybe something just to get started with, maybe a new wheel cylinder. Sure, go ahead and put pads on it and everything, but just to get it moving around, driving around, doesn't look that bad. So we'll move on to the front. All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started on this front one. So this left front's the only one that isn't rolling. We got both the rear ones off. So see what's going on with the front. Huh. Well, that ain't good. There's no cotter pin in there. Huh. Well, I guess that tells you something. When you buy something, don't just start driving it down the road until you figure out. At least do a good safety check, right? Make sure wheels aren't going to fall off. So, I got that off. Like I said, this drum's not turning at all. So, we give it a few. I'm just putting these on, not the fact that I'm trying to get to. I'm pretty sure from what I watched, the spindle is riveted to the drum. So I don't know. Again, that's why I said I like putting the nuts on there just so you have something to pry on, just so you don't have to mess up the threads. So these, yeah, so these must, everything I learned, like I said, I'm not a 57 Chevy guy or Tri-5 guy, but it looks like these still have the original bearings, or they're ball bearings instead of tapered bearings. So good or bad, guess you can always upgrade them. So still no movement. You can definitely feel them holding on to the pads. So let me see what I can do with this. That stud, I didn't do that, but I don't know how you tell if these were riveted or not, but let me do some investigation here and we'll get back on this. All right, looks like we about got it there. So I did get it over the pads. Didn't have much luck with the adjuster. as far as trying to back it off. So just kept messing with it. There we go. There's the other bearing. It's inside of the drum. So your normal rusty drum. And then there's what fell on the ground, so obviously. And then the lining fell off, so I don't think we're gonna be reusing those, but honestly, it's a part. So there wasn't much pad left on these actually. If you've seen this side over here, let me take the camera off. Those are some pretty thin pads there. So they got all their mileage out of these that they could. So I'll get this kind of cleaned up. What I've been doing is just taking and adjusting them in. Like I said, these are rusted up when I've tried to do it from underneath. They weren't really moving too much. So all I'm gonna do now is spray the inside of this, adjust these in. That way all the hardware can stay on here, and I'll just throw the drums back on here, clean as, get the dirt out of the bearings just for now, just so it can roll, and then we'll go from there. So next thing is tires and wheels. All right, this one's been taken all the way apart, and like I said, I'm just trying to make it a roller. So just so you understand is that, I just pretty much clean everything on the inside, spray it all down with WD-40 or whatever the cheapest lubricant I have is, honestly. And then I run the adjusters all the way in. That way I don't have to worry about the pads freezing up on the inside of the drum. Plus I mess with that, adjuster. So actually the hardware in this, I don't know, it's pretty good shape. So I don't know if it's been changed out before. Then I also I went ahead and put a cotter pin back in to hold the nut. So you guys all saying it had the ball bearings versus a roller bearing and all that. But I think, it went from not moving to that, and I didn't really leave it loose. So got one more to do, and we'll have this thing as a roller. I won't show the other side, but you're getting the idea of what I'm doing. Like I said, on the rears too, I just clean them off, and then I run the adjusters all the way in, get them good and loose, spray it all down with like WD-40, spray the inside of the drum, slap it back on. So at least I know what I'm going to get into the next time I'm in there. So not that we have brakes, but we can definitely roll around. Okay, I'm going to slide this in the video somewhere because we worked all day, got it to roll, and I threw some tires and wheels on it. So this is just stuff I had laying around, except for maybe these center lines, which I got a few sets of those, and I thought I'd be able to just throw these on. So I'm going to insert this somewhere to let you know the issue I had at the end of the day is those are 15 by 7-inch wide wheels. They have P245 60 R15s, and they don't really fit. So on this side, I have maybe a 1/2 inch, maybe the thickness of your finger between the wheel and the tire and the fender well. On this side, it actually touches. So this side looks a little lower. I'm sure the springs aren't the greatest, but I cannot put my finger between the tire and the fender. So what I'm gonna ask early on in this video to try to generate some comments, what is the best tire and wheel combination to put on a 56 Nomad, 56 Chevy? I'm sure Tri-5s are all about the same, but I thought for sure a 15 by 7 would work. But they absolutely look cool, but you're not gonna be driving down the road with those on. But so I'll slip this in somewhere, and make sure you write in the comments what do you think works best.